Today we're going to talk about the second day of section 9.4 and 9.5. We are in unit 3, section 3, trigonometry. So angle of elevation and angle of depression are describing angles formed with a horizontal line. So an angle of elevation is formed from someone's line of sight or from the ground with a horizontal line, and the angle is going up in the triangle. Whereas an angle of depression is going to start at the top of the figure, and again, with the horizontal line, the angle will be going down. The biggest mistakes people make are if they're looking at the picture like this, they call this angle the angle of depression. But this angle is not formed with a horizontal line. This angle is formed with a vertical line and a diagonal line. The only angle of elevation or depression here is based on the horizontal line, so it's down here, and that's the angle of elevation. We're going to use angle of elevation and depression to find missing things in word problems, basically. So here we have Leah wants to see a castle in an amusement park. She sights the top of the castle at an angle of elevation of 38 degrees. So from her line of sight, 38 degrees to the top of the castle. She knows the castle is 190 feet tall. If she's 5.5 feet tall, how far is she from the castle to the nearest foot? So they have a picture drawn for us here. They're telling us from the very top of this figure to the ground is 190, but the right triangle actually starts at her line of sight 5.5 feet above it. So that means in this triangle, it's not 190 that's this length, it's 190 minus the 5.5 feet that it's off the ground. So this side of the triangle is actually going to be 190 minus 5.5, or 184.5. We're looking for the horizontal distance, which is x, and we know the angle that we're using is 38 degrees. So this 38, that would be my opposite side. This would have been my hypotenuse. X is my adjacent side. So using O and A, or opposite and adjacent, we're going to set up tangent of 38 equals 184.5 over x. So finding the tangent of 38, we get 0.7813. And because the x is on the bottom, we're going to end up doing 184.5 divided by that decimal, and we get 236.15. So it asks us how far is she from the castle to the nearest foot, so we'll say 236 feet. You go ahead and try this one. Try to make a picture that is described by this scenario. So we have a person in the audience at ground level is watching a high wire routine. A 5.5 foot tall acrobat is standing on a platform that is 25 feet off the ground. How far is the audience member from the base of the platform if the angle of elevation from the audience member's line of sight to the top of the acrobat's head is 27 degrees? So pause it if you're going to try to make the triangle on your own. Otherwise, I will make the triangle now, and then you can pause and try it. So we have a person at ground level. We have the base of the platform. The platform goes up 25 feet, and the person standing on it is an additional 5.5 feet. From the audience member's line of sight to the top of the acrobat's head is 27 degrees, and we're finding the distance between the audience member and the base of the platform. So now pause and try this problem. All right, so we would have had tangent of 27 equals 30.5 over x. We find the tangent of 27, and then we do 30.5 divided by that number. So we get x is 59.86, so we could say about 60 feet there. If you wanted to say 59.9 or 59.86, that is fine as well. So here we have a lifeguard is watching a beach from a line of sight 6 feet above the ground. So we already know here to here is 6 feet. She sees a swimmer at an angle of depression of 8 degrees. So from her horizontal line of sight going down is 8 degrees. How far away from the tower is the swimmer? So we're looking for basically this distance here, which is the same as this one up here. So if I complete the triangle, knowing this height is 6 as well, I now have my angle. That's opposite, that's adjacent. So tangent of 8 equals 6 over x. So we're going to get the tangent of 8 is 0.1405, and 6 divided by that is 42.69. So we could say about 43 or about 42.7 feet, right? You try the next one. You're skiing on a mountain with an altitude of 1,200 feet. The angle of depression is 21 degrees. Find the distance x you ski down the mountain to the nearest foot. Pause it and then check your answer. All right, for this one, we would have had sine of 21 equals 1,200 over x, and we get about 3,349 feet. Our next problem gets a little more complicated. We have Mrs. Long sights the tree at a 70-degree angle of elevation. So from her line of sight, which is 1.7 meters above the ground, she sights the top of the tree. Oh, she was standing here first, sorry, at a 70-degree angle of elevation. She moves back 10 meters, and now her angle of elevation to the top of the tree is 26 degrees. We want to find out how tall the tree is. So there's two aspects overall to this problem. We're going to find x, and then we know the distance between x and the ground was 1.7, so we'll add them together. But in order to find x, we're also going to have to find y. So let's look at this one piece at a time. I have a triangle right here. And in this triangle, I know I have a 70-degree angle, I have x, and I have y. So that's opposite and adjacent. So that tan of 70 equals x over y. But I also have this larger triangle. Where the angle is 26 degrees. This side is still x, but now the base of it is 10 plus y. So again, I have O and A, so the tangent of 26 equals x over 10 plus y. So I have two different equations, both with x and y in them. So this is technically a system of equations. And what I will do is I will get both of them to have x alone, because if I know what x is for each of them, I can then set them equal to each other because I know x is equal to x. So I'm going to get x by itself in this equation, and I'm going to get x by itself in this equation, each by multiplying by the denominator. So let's extend our page here a bit. So I'm going to start with this. So if I multiply by y and multiply by y, I get y times the tangent of 70 equals x. And on this one, if I multiply by 10 plus y and multiply by 10 plus y, then I have 10 plus y times tangent of 26 equals x. So I now have two different equations that both equal x, which means I could set the other two pieces equal to each other. So y times tangent of 70 equals 10 plus y times tangent of 26. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try to get this 10 plus y alone. So I'm going to divide both sides by the tangent of 26. So now I have y times the tangent of 70 over the tangent of 26 equals 10 plus y. This is a value, this is a number, and I could use my calculator to find it. The only thing I cannot do is divide 70 by 26 and then try to take the tangent. I have to do them as two separate things. Tangent 70 divided by tangent 26. And when I do that, I get 5.6332, and that's rounded. So I'm going to keep that in my calculator for right now, because I now have an equation where I have y on both sides, so I can minus y from each, so that's really minusing 1y. So on my calculator, I'll hit -1. And now I want to get y alone, so I'm going to divide by this number on both sides. So I'm going to do 10 divided by the answer that's already in my calculator. So 10 divided by this number is going to give me 2.1584. I'm going to still keep this in my calculator for now, but I'm going to look back up at the top. I had an equation where tangent of 70 equaled x over y, and now I know what y is. So I could replace this equation, the y, and now I'm only solving for x. Let's go back down here, and let's set up that tan of 70 equaled x over y, which means tan of 70 equals x over that 2.1584. And keeping that in my calculator, I'm going to multiply it by the tangent of 70. I don't even have to find the tangent of 70 first. I can just hit times tan 70. And when I do that, I get x is 5.93. So going back to my original problem, I wanted the height of the tree, which I know was x, and the additional 1.7 that was down here. So we know the height is really going to be 5.93 plus 1.7. So we get 7.63. And it asked us to round to the nearest meter. So the tree is about 8 meters tall. Right, a lot of steps to that one, very easy to get lost within it, but if you stay organized, it should be a little bit better. Let's try another one together. Similar, but a little easier, actually. If you're in a hot air balloon that's 600 feet above the ground, you can see two people. The angles of depression to person B and person C are 30 degrees and 20 degrees, respectively. How far apart are person B and C? So because I know that these lines are horizontal, I know they're parallel, which means alternate angles, alternate interior angles are congruent. So the angle of elevation and angle of depression will always be congruent to each other. So if this entire angle here was 30 degrees, then this entire angle here is going to be 30 degrees. And if this smaller one was 20, this smaller one is 20. We're looking for the distance between B and C. So that's where I'm going to put my X. But really, I'm going to have to know the distance basically between the balloon's air position and B. So let's make another variable there, Y. So again, I have two right triangles. I have one that just has a Y in it now with 600 and my angle of 30. And I have a bit of a longer one where the angle's 20, the height is still 600, but now this is y plus x. So I could set up OA, tangent 30 equals 600 over y. And this is solvable right now. So tangent of 30, we get point something. I think I actually just did 600 divided by tangent of 30, all in my calculator at once. And I got y is 1039.23. So for the second one, I now know this is x plus 1039.23. So this being O and this being A, I'm going to set up another tangent, but now of 20 degrees equals 600 over x plus 1039.23. So I am going to do a little bit of tricky math here. If this was just an x down here, I would be doing 600 divided by whatever I got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write x plus the 1039.23 equals the 600 divided by tangent of 20. And I can do this part on my calculator without actually writing down the tangent of 20. So I end up with 1648.49. So now I'm going to subtract the 1039.23 from both sides, and I get 609.26 feet. But they didn't specify what to round to, so we'll just go to the 100. So that's how far apart person B and person C are. You're going to try this last one. There's no need to find the angles at the bottom. We can set it up exactly as it looks, but be careful that when you're doing your second triangle, you're not just using the 24, because the second triangle is made up of the entire angle. So you have to make sure you combine them. So go ahead, give this one a try. You can pause it and then check your answer. All right, so we had to add an additional variable of y between q and s and find that first so that we could find x is 12.01. And that is angle of elevation and depression in trigonometry.